Yeah, okay, the Gentry podcast. I know that you will be loving it. We here to break it down so that you start to understand your local government. Who are the leaders? Time to get active, do something about it. Dealing with jobs, the workforce, and affordable housing. Motivate and inspire. Elevate, take it higher. For the next generation, knowledge is power for your community. Giving you the info that you really need. Time to make a change and a difference. Tune in, don't miss it. It's the Gentry. The Jentry Podcast. The Jentry Podcast. Making a change, switching it up.
Hello and welcome to the Jentry Podcast. Today, we have an incredible guest for our Jentry Future Leaders segment. We have Gabriela Agarie. She's a field deputy in the city of Los Angeles. She brings an incredible amount of experience and an incredible story. Gabriela, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me, and it's very nice to see you again, Jason.
Thank you.
Jonathan, I'm so sorry. Jonathan.
I get that all the time. Jonathan Mason turns to Jason so quickly. No worries at all. So let's start from the beginning. What was your childhood like? Did you always know you were going to get into a life of public service?
I didn't know that this was going to be my life. I came from a small town in Mexico. It's called Pihuamo, I think about 2 hours from the beach. My mom and I came to the US when I was about 3 years old, and my mom made sacrifices and worked incredibly hard for me to have the opportunities that I have now. I didn't have the perfect GPA in school. I wasn't the best student in high school, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I first started college. Over time, I realized that government isn't really outside of something that is local to us and something we can obtain. It really is something where we can try to add to it in our everyday lives. And the connection between my mother and our story of immigration really inspired me to continue to help people who are like us, who are seeking a better life and just want to be a part of this country and be better.
That is amazing. So where was the spark? And I loved how you said that. You said it's not something that's outside of us. It's within us. But what was the kind of triggered that initiative and that introspection to know it's within you?
You know what? It was really perseverance. Like I said, I wasn't a good student. I graduated high school with a 2.3 GPA. I was at the verge of not graduating during community college. I took over 5 years. Usually it takes about 2 to 3 years. There's no time limit, but it took me over 5 years to finish my community college. But I came out with 5 different degrees, associate degrees in sociology, humanities, history, political science, and English. And what really was the spark was finding what was for me. Before I came in as a nursing major and I took a biology class and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't tell you what the top or bottom of a cell was and if it was the left or the right side. But what I could do and what I was really good at was writing papers on opinions on policy, papers on opinions of history, how history might have repeated itself. And that's really where the spark came in for me. Knowing that this was something that I was really into, finding my way through politics and political science classes and history classes, and really finding the spark for myself in what I really wanted to like and what I really wanted to do.
That's an incredible, and you're so well-rounded. I think he said 5 different degrees. It's
Thank you.
incredible. A
Thank
true
you. Thank you.
student of life. That is incredible. So now, just talk to me about your first job. Like, how did you land it, and then what did that entail?
So my first job in government came right 3 months after I graduated. So I graduated June 2023, and previously I had worked retail. Retail worked for my schedule. I was able to go to college and kind of figure out take afternoon classes or take morning classes, work part time. And when I graduated, I knew that I needed that office experience to be able to really jump in and, say like, hey, I've worked as an administrative assistant. I know what, the ins and out of an office looks like. And I got a job within local community in El Monte with a parts company called Lawrence Equipment. That was my first job out of graduating. I was an executive administrative assistant. I was kind of doing paperwork, trying to e-file a lot of items that they had paper. 3 months into that job, my college email was still very active, and I would consistently check it just in case, just to see if there was anything going on that I was interested in. And I got an email from a government consulting group asking me to come and interview, check it out. I interviewed, I went through the process. I ended up taking the job. And when I took the job, I realized that I am not as inclined or aware as into the government processes that I should be. It was very much a learning process. I made a lot of mistakes. To this day, I still have a paper where someone wrote out to me what county government is, what city government is, what local, federal government, and the different levels, because I really had no idea what it was that I was getting into. I just knew that I wanted to work for government.
Wow, that is incredible. And I love that. Well, first off, I appreciate you being so candid. And it took somebody just breaking it down on the back of a napkin for it to settle in.
Exactly. Yep.
And that shows like mentorship, somebody being willing to help you out, but then also you being able to take that in. So now you're in a different role. How did you get there? What was that transition like?
So at the government consulting firm, it is a lot of people who are connected and know a lot of community members or people who have played a part in local and federal county politics. In that job, I met someone whose name was Evelyn Bravo Ayala. She used to be a district director for Bob Hertzberg, and we had a heart to heart one day when it was just me and her. And I let her know that, I really want to do this. Since I've started the job, I've been interested. In government consulting, I worked a lot with tribal leaders and tribal law, tribal policy. So I worked a lot on powwows. I worked with different tribal leaders to try to get more advocacy into their community and federal recognition. Um, and I really liked the connection we had. I liked talking to the people, and I let her know that this was something I enjoyed. And she told me that there was an opening with Congressman Tony Cardenas in the 29th Congressional District. At the time, I didn't feel like I had these skills. I didn't feel like I had what was needed to be able to do a congressional job. And you hear the US House of Representatives, it's so big, it's so overview. I didn't feel like I was ready. A week later, she sits me down and she's like, "Did you apply for the job?" And I was honest with her. I said, "No, Evelyn, I don't feel like I'm ready. I don't feel like I have the skill set. Like it's a big job." And she said, "Of course you do." She sat me down. We worked on my resume together. She looked at all the little details, the periods, the commas. We worked on my cover letter. I turned it in. And about 3 days later, I got a call from the congressman's office from District Director Brian Gaviria at the time. I did my interview with him and a field deputy. And then I had another interview with a chief of staff. It was online in DC. With that chief of staff, during the time, it was a looming government shutdown. So he was taking my interview and looking at the news, making sure that the policies were going through, that people were voting. He's like, "I'm so sorry." I was so nervous because I didn't think I'd get the job because he was so busy. He wasn't looking at me. But I ended up getting a third interview with the congressman at his district office in the San Fernando Valley. And what really stood out to me about this interview, and I've been very grateful for it, and I think about it all the time, is that he didn't ask me about my skills. He didn't ask me about my experience, my background. He asked me where I come from. He asked me who my parents are. What do they do for work? How many siblings do I have? What my journey to education was like. And I appreciate that because the congressman really showed me that it wasn't about skill. It was about connection to the community and what you can build from there. From there, 3 weeks later, the congressman says and announces that he is retiring. And I'm so worried. I'm like, "Oh, my job. I just started this. I really loved what I was doing before. And I knew this was going to give me the opportunity to even be more localized, talk to more leaders." And he made his announcement. I couldn't stop crying. I had to go home that day. It was a big, big time for me because I was like, "Oh, I don't want to lose this. I really love this." I took what I had with the job. I appreciated the time. I tried to learn everything I could within the job. And I ended up applying through a Google form for a job with Councilwoman Eunices Hernandez. Again, I saw this job as a reach. I've only had 1 year, a year and 3 months of full experience in government at that time. And look, I've seen the reaction from my time in Congress that community has had to local government. And I was like, "I don't think I'm ready for this. I don't think I have the skin for it. I don't think I'm ready." I ended up applying because, I needed a job. I still wanted to do government. I did an interview with homelessness and housing director and district director, and then or director of legislative affairs. And then I had another interview after that. They ended up liking me, so I had another interview after that with the chief of staff and the district director. And that interview went well. And I had an interview with Councilwoman Eunice Hernandez. This was in City Hall. It was very surreal to be at City Hall. It's a place I never thought I'd be in. I never thought I'd step foot in even. It was really, really crazy to be there. Again, something the councilwoman asked me wasn't about my skill set, wasn't about my experience. Why do I want to work in local government? What brings me to this work? Not every day is going to be easy. How do you deal with constituents who are going to, be upset with you? And at the time, I was nervous. I was scared. I was hoping that I had impressed her enough, and I did. I got the job a few weeks later and started in early January of 2020. So I'm about 8 months into my current position with Councilwoman Eunice Hernandez. As a field deputy, I look over the areas of Chinatown, Westlake North, and a little bit of downtown.
Wow, that is amazing. You
Thank you.
always well, one, again, you had a great mentor who was there to
Hmm.
sit down with you, and help you work through your cover letter and push you to, apply when
Yes,
necessary. But
yes.
you had the courage and the guts to step out there and to
Hmm.
interview, and then you landed the job, and then it, you know, in all in all intents and purposes, came crashing down for a second, but you rose up. You knew you wanted to be in government, so you put yourself out there, again, and you landed it. That is impressive. The word that comes to me is resilient. You show
Thank you.
a lot of resilience in everything you do, and now you're in a dream role. Literally, you said you wouldn't even dream to working in City Hall, and now you are. So on that, I know every day is probably different, but what is maybe a typical or even just one day in your life look like?
Yeah, every day is very different. This job isn't a regular 9 to 5 job. It's not a job where, you have set hours. You're working weekends some days. Some days you have a full 7 day work week. Some days I'm up at 9 a.m. I have a back-to-back meeting with a constituent. And then after that, I have to go to a community event. And then after that, I have to go and advocate for community in certain areas so they can have more resources. Some days I'm starting my day at 8 a.m. and I'm not ending it until about 9, 10 p.m. Every day looks very different. A lot of my days are, touching base with community. I do field drives to make sure that there's anything that's pending or anything off in the streets that I can push up to the departments. I meet with different organizations. We have certificate presentations. On the weekends, for example, this weekend, I'm hosting a community cleanup in Chinatown. So every day is different. Every day is fun. Every day is a new adventure. What we always say, and something I learned very, very early on, is that there's always something new going to be going on. There's always going to be moving pieces. And what you don't get done one day, you move it on to the next day, and we just move forward and try to move where we can.
Yeah, wow. You meant what you said.
Yeah.
No 2 days are alike, which is beautiful, and that's something that keeps you hungry and keeps you interested in
Mhm.
the role. Now, I have to ask, I'm gonna press on it a little bit. Is there maybe one project or initiative that you've taken part of and you're like, "Wow, this is why I do this work?"
Anytime I get to work with youth and students is one of the times that I just appreciate so much because I see myself so much in them. Not coming from a background where I didn't have the full support of my parents in the sense of pushing me to want to do better. I didn't have the best grades and I had to really push myself to want more. I try to connect with students. And the project that I'm really, really proud of would be Congressional Art Competition and graduating certificates for high school students. For the Congressional Art Competition, it was so much fun. It was my first big, big project where I had to lead in event planning, fundraising, inviting students, asking for different resources from different people. But to see students and see their artwork be shown off and have something to because in the fundraising aspect, part of it was being able to compensate them for their work. Art students and art isn't something that is very well compensated. And the fact that they put themselves out there, we wanted to really congratulate them. And that's something that came from the congressman. And I had to really work to get that money. But when I was at the event and I saw how happy the students were to receive compensation for something that they've created, that they put their hard work from, it just made me so happy and made me so grateful to be able to reach out to youth and be able to touch students in that world. On top of it, something that I didn't realize when I was young is how much of an impact a small certificate can make on a student. It's something we can add to our resumes. It's something that we can highlight when we go and do job interviews and say, hey, I have a certificate for all my hard work from a congressional representative. And I was able to deliver over 4,000 certificates to about I think 18 to 20 high schools around the district. And it was just one of my proudest accomplishments because, again, something so small like that can make such a big difference in shaping a student's future, even how they see themselves and where they see themselves. So it was something I was very proud of. And anytime I get to work with youth, I really, really appreciate it. It's some of my favorite projects that I do.
I love that, and I share that. That's something that I definitely pride myself is trying to mentor and reach out and learn
Mhm.
from youth for sure. Now, I know at least in my world, sometimes there's some misconceptions about working in local government and government in general. Do you have any what your friends don't understand what you do, or anything you've heard from constituents? Any misconceptions about local?
Yes. So there's a few misconceptions about local government, especially in the processes of how things are done. When I had learned about local government in college, we learned very much the theory of government and how government should be working. When you are in government, you learn that these processes and how these things should be moving isn't always the case. Things move very slow in government. There are so many levels and processes and people we have to be able to get the things that need to get done. And it's something I didn't realize myself, just the amount of work that goes into getting a street light, getting a stop sign, the work that goes into supporting an initiative or a closure of something important like a post office and making sure that community knows and local government knows. One of the main misconceptions I had, I think, from my position and as field deputy was how much control I would have over some of the outcomes that some of or some constituents tell us. In my thought processes and in theory, I thought that, I would be able to reach out to the departments and the things would get done. And that's not always the process. Sometimes lack of budgeting. Right now, LA City Council is going through, I think, over 400 million or $1 billion in deficit, which then cuts away from the amount of funding that people have to be able to hire or how many people we have to be able to address things on the streets. It's not something I realize that also goes into addressing constituent services. And I think the main misconception is the trust that constituents can have on local leaders. Sometimes people I hear a lot that, I don't understand the community or I don't know where they're coming from because I'm over here in, my golden office. But really, I am just like them. I do have these issues and I go out on the streets and I see that this is going on. And as much as I want to solve these things, I need the trust in them, just like they need the trust in me to know that I'm working on this and I'm pushing it for them. And at the end of the day, it's really about me trying to build the trust with the community, me trying to give them answers, me trying to be transparent and vocal and communicate with them enough to let them know that I have this job because of them. I work with this because of them. And I'm not trying to work against them. I'm just trying to figure out the ins and outs to be able to do what they want me to do.
That's a tough one.
It is.
You teased out it has to be that trust in between
Hmm.
parties. And one of the things and one of the reasons that I do the Gentry podcast is understanding the process. And that was one of the things you also teased out is when you truly understand the process and you understand what it takes to even just put up a street light, then it's a little bit easier to give grace and give that trust once there's that understanding. So I definitely tried to make sure I tease that out. Now I have to ask, and this could be to your younger self or a young person that's coming behind you. What is some advice you would give for a young person that's either looking to be more civically engaged or civically aware, or maybe even looking to a career in public service?
Mhm. You know what? Something that I always tell, because I have a 15-year-old brother and I'm constantly, constantly pushing him. He's a great speaker, he's a great debater, and I think he'd do great in something like this, but it's up to him to choose. Something I'm always telling him is put yourself out there. Try to do those internships, join the debate clubs, join the poli sci clubs, go out and go to the town halls or the neighborhood councils and talk and see what really is going on in your community. It all starts from you really focusing on what it is that interests you. Something it's hard to say because political theory and the world of government is so hard to something that's been told to me is that it's almost like a club. You have to know someone to get in and you have to have those connections. And the best way to have those connections and something I wish I would have done when I was younger is internships. Even interning during school or asking after school what a professor or what an office, a political office can provide you, that's really a first step into understanding what the work is, what a government office does, and exactly what role you can play in that. I think internships are so important, but really it comes from just you wanting to advocate, you wanting to better your community, you really seeing that you want to make a difference here. Just try to put yourself out there because that's going to get you to get to know people and it's going to get you into the world that you want to be in. And once people recognize you and they get to know you, it's easier to talk about your skills and talk about some of the things that you can do great in this world. But it really comes from just putting yourself out there. Put yourself out there as much as you can. Talk to people, join clubs, ask to interview congressional members, ask to go and talk to the field deputies and see if they have time to spend 2 seconds with you and grab a coffee with you and ask them about their work. I love when people reach out to me and they're like, I want to get to know you. I'm like, I want to get to know you. Like, what would make you want to ask me? And I just love when people are comfortable putting themselves out there. And it's something that I've learned that's really important for getting into this job.
That is so important, and that's such a great message. It just takes putting yourself out there,
Mhm.
and you're not just saying it, you're living it, as I've seen from your background. So putting yourself out there, and then also internships.
Mhm.
Now, I've definitely heard a lot of positives about local government. Everything can't be all sunshines and rain. What is
Yeah.
one thing, if you could just snap your fingers and change, what is maybe one thing you would change or do differently in local government?
I think for me, as I'm getting older, as my family is getting older, as my siblings are, getting older, something I wish I had more time of is time, exactly time. This job can take away, and sometimes the way I see that, the way I've talked to my family about it is I do make a lot of sacrifices in my time and being there for the community, going to the weekend meetings, going to the weekend cleanups, going to the afternoon neighborhood councils. Something I wish that could change was just the amount of time that us as junior level associates, junior level staffers have for our family. It's not always sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes I have tough days where I have spoken to 5, 6 constituents that aren't happy with me and, aren't happy with the situation that's going on in the community. And it's really hard sometimes to just be in those back to back meetings and back to back calls where people are, asking you, like, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to change? And sometimes you don't always have an answer for them. And sometimes you can't do what they want. And it's not internalizing that. That can be really hard. And that can be part of the job, learning how to kind of try to take everything in, but not take it personal. Something else is the systems. Something I've learned about this is just the way the systems run based on history and budgets and past leaders and everything that's been done in communities. Sometimes the system can run slower than it needs to, and that's something I'm trying to learn how to work around and ask different questions and see what different ways I can work around the system. But I wish sometimes the system would be a little more streamlined to be able to get these services directly out to the community. So those are some of the issues that I face. I always tell my siblings, like, I'm just trying to make a sacrifice to be able to help you guys in the long run. And at the end of the day, I enjoy it. Sunshines, rainbows, dark days. days where the event didn't go off, or I didn't get as many people as I wanted at this event, or people haven't been happy with me, I still try to look at the positive. And something I have heard and I always say is that we don't have to do this. We get to do this. We wake up every day and we get to work for the community. We get to connect and we get to make these small sacrifices to just better society overall.
Well, I think that is an incredible place to end. Wow, that was straight from the heart. I felt it, and I know that the viewers, everything's not going to be all sunshines and rainbows. There are going to be tough days in any career, but when you're truly passionate about what you do, you can get that fulfillment. And even better and a step further, if you can help people and you know that you're doing this for your community, and especially your younger siblings and your family as well. That is an incredible way to look at your career. And
Thank you.
on behalf of everyone here at Gentry, I'd just like to say thank you, Gabriella. Like, wow, you are definitely one of the up and comers. Your tenacity, your resilience, and your passion just shine through. So I wanted to
Thank you.
thank you personally for being here. And to our viewers, once again, this is the Gentry podcast, and this is the Gentry Future Leaders segment. And Gabriella let us know what it is like to be a field deputy. So if you have more questions, please let us know. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Have a
Thank you
great
so much.